You are making the world a better place by listening to the Joy of Living podcast. This is your guide to achieving a more purposeful, powerful, and positive life. Join Barry Shore in unlocking the best version of you and becoming happier, healthier, and wealthier. And now, here's your ambassador of joy, Barry Shore.
Good day, beautiful, bountiful, beloved immortal beings, and good-looking people. Remember, you're good-looking. You're always looking for and finding the good. We have found good in abundance. Our cup runneth over with good. You're about to meet an amazing, fabulous, intriguing person named Shmuel Rechman. Actually has a title, an honorific title, which he's earned, Rabbi Shmuel Rechman. So we'll talk about that. But at the moment, you have tuned in for one reason and one reason only, to the Joy of Living podcast, because you care the most in the entire world about you. And that's great, because when you become the best you make the world a better place. You build more bridges of harmony. You create more joy, happiness, peace, and love in the world. And I want to tell you, at this very moment, you are joined by 348,722 people around the world, all of whom have tuned in for the express purpose of becoming the best human beings they can be. Because you know that on this program, The Joy of Living, we discuss the three fundamentals of life. And when you live with these three fundamentals, you will, as a result, become happier, healthier, and wealthier. Who doesn't want that? And the three fundamentals, of course, are: number one, your life has purpose. And when you lead a purpose-driven life, number two happens. Now, in this case, a good number two. You go MAD. Now, MAD is a wonderful acronym that stands for make a difference. You lead a purpose-driven life, you make a difference in the world. And the third fundamental is to uncover the power and the sequence of everyday words and terms. Simple example. Right now, this show, The Joy of Living, is carried around the world, and you are tuned in, thank God, from almost every country in the world. And you're doing it because you care the most in the entire world about you. You want to become the best you possible. So if you ask anybody, what does WWW stand for? Invariably, it has to do with the internet. Factually speaking, they're correct. But in our world, the world of the positive, purposeful, powerful, and pleasant, WWW stands for what a wonderful world. And what is a word, right? WHATA. Now, whenever you hear the opening bars of that song by Louis Armstrong, Satchmo, what a wonderful world, what do right away? You can't help it. You smile. Now, smile is one of the most important words you could ever internalize, utilize, and leverage in your life, because smile is an amazing acronym that stands for seeing miracles in life every day. Seeing miracles in life every day. Now, I got to tell you, I'm back giving in-person presentations. Recently, I did 1,176 people in the audience. It was great. Lots of energy, hugging, no masks. It was just upbeat and enlivening. And I'm telling you the story about Barry Shore, and some people raise their hands and say, hey, Barry Shore, I've been up for hours. I haven't seen any miracles. And I asked them, are you here? Can you hear? Can you stand still? I can't do that. Can you walk? I can barely do that. You have water to drink, you have food to eat, you have a place to sleep, you have family, you have friends. Every single one of those is a miracle. And what's the proof? Simplest proof. 1 million people didn't get out of bed this morning. You know why? They died. By definition, if you're watching or listening to this, you didn't. Therefore, you have an obligation to live life to the full. So let me tell you a quick story. Imagine, if you can, standing up in the morning, hale and hearty, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound, that's me, and in the evening, being in the hospital totally, completely paralyzed, not from an automobile accident, not a spinal injury, a rare disease which I never heard of the day before, took over my body and rendered me what's called a quadriplegic, which means nothing on my body moved from my neck down, completely paralyzed. I can only communicate by blinking my eyes. 144 days in the hospital. I was in a hospital bed in my own home for 2 years. I couldn't turn over by myself. 4 years in a wheelchair. I had braces on both my legs, my hips, my ankles, and that was progress. Thank God today I'm able to be vertical and ambulatory with the help of a 7-foot walking wand. So I'm a triped, not a biped. I still can't walk up a stair by myself, can't walk up a curb by myself. Now I have help 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, but you hear my voice. Positive, purposeful, powerful, and pleasant, all because of one word. And that word is smile. Seeing miracles in life every day. I got to tell you a quick story. My 80-year-old niece comes over to me a few weeks ago and she says, Uncle Barry, can we spell smile? S-M-I-E-L. I thought about it. Smile, sounds the same. Why not? I asked her, how come? She says, because then it would stand for seeing miracles in everyday life. out of the mouth of babes, an 8-year-old. But what was she doing? She was creating the kind of world she wants to live in. Now, CREATE is a wonderful acronym that stands for causing rethinking, enabling all to excel. You see, it's that shift in perspective, that small shift in perspective makes all the difference, rethinking. Now, I've been working with people for more than 42 years. And I can tell you 97.2% of people, whenever we talk about making a shift in their life, they drop the F and the other stuff happens. You have to be effing careful with your Fs. You want to do a shift in your perspective. And then you'll be able to internalize, utilize, and leverage these 6 most important words that you'll ever learn, ever. 6 most important words are choice, not chance, determines your destiny. Choice, not chance, determines your destiny. How you choose to respond in any given situation will not only show you the pathway, but the trajectory of your life. Now, before we bring on our wonderful guest, Rabbi Shmuel Rechman, I want to warn everybody in advance, I do use a lot of 4-letter words. I even use the 4-letter FU word. I do it for the shock value and it's fun. Now, of course, the 4-letter words that we use, because we live in the world of the positive, purposeful, powerful, and pleasant, are love, life, hope, free, gift, pray, play, swim. And the 4-letter FU word is fun. Fun, yes, F-U, capital N, capital N. Now, right away, some people raise their hand and say, hey, Barry Shore, fun is only spelled with 3 letters. Not in our world. The world of the positive, purposeful, powerful, and pleasant. Fun is spelled F-U, capital N, capital N. So after the show, when you see your family and friends, you have a twinkle in your eye, you have a smile on your face. When you know what that stands for, I want you to point your finger and tell everybody F-U. But remember to add right away, capital N, capital N. You say, where'd you get that? I say, I listen to Barry Shore on the Joy of Living podcast, and he wants to teach the world to F-U. Capital N, capital N. It opens up the idea of what you can talk about. And we have lots to talk about today with wonderful Rabbi Shmuel Rechman. So before we bring on Shmuel, I'm going to urge everybody to do the following. I want you to use the 2 most powerful words in the English language 3 times a day from now and the rest of your life, because they'll make a difference for you, your family, your friends, and all living beings. And these 2 words are, of course, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thanks stands for to harmonize and nurture kindness. To harmonize and nurture kindness. Example, you go into a coffee shop, you order a fancy latte, you sit down, somebody brings it to you, you say thank you, of course. Go to the coffee shop, you order a fancy latte, you sit down, you order your fancy latte, nobody brings it, a couple of minutes go by, you go to the counter, they say, I'm sorry, we forgot, we'll bring it to you, sit down, a couple more minutes go by, somebody brings you still say thank you. You're walking out of the coffee shop, it's raining out, somebody holds the door open for you, you say thank you. You're walking out of the coffee shop, it's raining, and somebody slams the door on you, you say thank you. You're in traffic, you're late for an appointment, somebody cuts you off, you say thank you. Get up in the middle of the night and you stub your toe and it hurts. You say, that's right, thank you. To harmonize and nurture kindness. Kind is a wonderful word. It stands for keep inspiring noble deeds. I can't think of anybody that inspires noble deeds that I want to share with you that other than wonderful Rabbi Shmuel Rechman. Shmuel, please say hello to 357,829 people around the world.
Hello, everybody. First of all, your energy is contagious beyond contagious. Literally found myself smiling ear to ear before we even started our conversation. So job well done.
Woo! Them's loving words, baby. Now, by the way, I say this directly to a rabbi. You ready for what I'm going to say? When was the last time someone said F you to you and you smiled?
Not sure last time anyone said F you to me, but right. Definitely would have tried to smile. Definitely easier when the F you is F-U-N, capital N, capital N.
F-U, capital N, capital N. Okay, we're going to jump right in because There are so many people that are going to be wondering and say, what is a rabbi going to talk about other than rabbi things? Well, yes and no. One of the reasons I've asked, and I'm so honored and humbled that Rabbi Shmuel Rechman is joining us. And by the way, everything you want to know about him, and there's a lot to know, just go to my website, which is www.whatawan.barryshore.com, BARRYSHORE, barryshore.com. And remember, of course, you're going to share this podcast with 5 people, 5 friends. That's it, just 5. So we'll touch 1.5 million people eventually. But go there. Everything about Shmuel that you want to know is there. And there's a lot to know because he's done so much and he is doing so much in the world. So I don't want to go deep into his CV, because if we do, we'll take up most of the show. But suffice it to say, in addition to being an ordained minister, a rabbi in this case, he is well-schooled in many different disciplines in many different schools, places like Harvard, the University of Chicago, in addition to being involved in the business world and a motivational speaker and author. And of course, a musician, but that's just because he's a wonderful guy. So he's a basic Renaissance guy and what I call a Jewish overachiever. I want to jump right in and talk about something that intrigues me, Shmuel, and I want to make you aware, of course, that of our listening audience of hundreds of thousands of people, and of course, they'll be sharing it with many more, a tiny, tiny fraction are Jewish in any way possible. And therefore, what we want to talk about today is the genius of Judaism. Notice I didn't say Judaism. We'll talk about that in a bit. The genius of Judaism and the Torah. So my first question to you is, Rabbi Rechman, tell us, what does the word Torah mean and what is a rabbi? What do you do?
It's a great question. So the first question that you asked really gets to the core of what anything means, right? If you ask what a word means, talk about acronyms, right? So you give meaning to a word by essentially deepening it. So in Hebrew, one of the beauties of the word Hebrew is it's not just a colloquial language. It's not just a practical thing. It's that the words actually mean things. So if you break down the word Torah, the root of the word Torah is or, which is the Hebrew word for light. And that's why another word for Torah is oraisa, light. And one of the most brilliant things about Torah, it's like, I spent my life studying wisdom, and it's my greatest passion. I've been in the business world, studied with many great universities, many great professors, many great mentors. But when you pursue wisdom, you're always looking for the root of things. It's like you have a tree, you want to go down to understand that tree comes from a seed. A human being comes from a zygote. If you want to understand music, it comes from just notes. And when you pursue the meaning of life, when you pursue the purpose of life, you want to go down to the root fundamental components. So if someone would ask me, like, what makes Torah great? What makes Torah worth thinking about? I've studied the greatest philosophers, Aristotle, Plato, Socrates, Descartes, Kant, Nietzsche. What makes Torah superior in the hierarchy of wisdom and knowledge? So I would say that if you look at the concept of light, there's a difference between the spectrum of light in terms of colors and white light. Right? If you have white light, when refracted through a prism, gives you something fascinating. What does it give you? It gives you the spectrum of light. And if you'd ask, which of those colors is the white light? You get blue, you get green, you get red, you get purple, all these different colors. Which one's white light? So you can, if a 5-year-old would maybe say one of these colors, what's your favorite color? And a more mature person might say all of them, right? If you add them all together. But if you really think about it, the white light is not just the summation of the pieces. It's something that transcends those pieces. It's essentially the oneness that, when brought down into the realm of multiplicity, expresses into individual colors, but the actual source transcends the pieces. And when you are trying to build a life, you have your intellectual growth, you have your spiritual growth, you have your emotional well-being, you have your physical health, you have your relationships, you have your career, you have the impact you want to have on your community in the world, you have your financial growth, you have all these different aspects of your life. And most people are confused because they're all over the place. Like if your marriage is great, how's your health? If your health is great, are you pursuing greatness in your career? If your career is going great, are you spiritually aware? Are you spiritually growing? So when it comes to life, one of the hardest things to do is to build an interconnected, harmonized, oneness-oriented life where all the pieces align, where you're actually not just appearing to be successful on the external social media front, but you're actually building an integrated life where you know why you're doing what you're doing. Your life makes sense, and you actually have an explanation for everything in your life, not just the things that kind of you show to the world in public. And when it comes to all the realms of wisdom, science, philosophy, psychology, delving into quantum mechanics and physics and mathematics, it's like, what is all this data? What is all this knowledge? What is all this wisdom? Like, why pursue any of it? Like, what's the purpose of any of it? And for me, the brilliance of Torah is that it's that white light. It's the fundamental source. It's the harmonizing oneness that brings all the pieces together. And from a sophisticated perspective, when you understand that, you can pursue a life of spiritual growth and philosophical intellectual growth and emotional and psychological mastery and physical mastery. I exercise every single day, and pursuing passions and hobbies and music and building a business and writing bestsellers and impacting the world. As long as you understand the hierarchy, all those pieces come together.
So let me make mention and break out some of the pieces that you've given to us already, because they are engaging, enchanting, and quite accessible when you use the idea of, first of all, the word or, the word in Torah. So in Torah in English, Torah, for those who want to look it up. If you've been living, you're living in, let's say, Sri Lanka, or you're living in Indonesia, or you're living in Bolivia, you never heard the word before, look it up, usually with a capital Torah. And wonderful Rabbi Rechman is telling us that the root of this magnificent process called Torah is light. Now, when you're dealing with light, light is one of the most magnificent aspects of being alive, because at one and the same time, we use light in order to see. We don't necessarily see light.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. But you're talking about pursuing wisdom, and wisdom, you said, is inherent in light. And yet when you talk to us about breaking up light into the spectral colors, and then therefore, is light one or is light many? And the answer is yes. That's a conundrum. But the great acronym for life, which is what you're talking about, is living inspirationally for eternity. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what you've been touching on here. And that's just these few minutes, Rabbi Rechman, is that when we're dealing with wisdom, as distinct, by the way, from knowledge, knowledge, you call it, is a tool, a process, something wonderful to acquire. But when you use it, the goal of using knowledge, I presume, and I'm saying this not as a rabbi, but as a basic person, is to acquire wisdom. As you say, the hierarchy of life is that wisdom is the highest level of, or the greatest pursuit. And you use the word harmony, which is wonderful because you are a musician in addition to everything else. And so the ability to harmonize, I'm just saying what you've been saying, I hope I'm doing it correctly, is that this is the genius of what you are bringing to the world in the garb of a Jewish teacher. In other words, a rabbi is a Jewish teacher. Is that correct? Is that fair to say?
Yeah. I mean, a rabbi there are many different types of rabbis. A rabbi is essentially a Jewish educator who spreads the wisdom of Torah, living a life of Torah truth. And I think the way that you phrase it is so powerful, because light, you don't see light. Light reveals. So essentially, the purpose of spiritual growth, and it's the same thing, and I've studied all different spiritual pathways, Buddhism, Christianity, Islam, many, 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 many different pathways. And, philosophy is a spiritual pathway as well. And the goal of every spiritual system is trying to essentially determine the nature of reality, why we're here, the purpose of life, and how to live a life of truth, and essentially fulfill the purpose of why we wake up to the question of why we're here. As in, when you mature your mind, as you're going through adolescence, everyone has the same question. Like, why in the world do I exist? And why do I have to make a living? And why is life so hard? And why am I suffering? And why do I care so much about what other people think about me? And why do I have to do all these things? And why do I do any of these things? And a lot of people, it's just overwhelming. So they either shut off that part of their questioning center, their curiosity, their childlike just wonder of the nature of existence, or they pursue the answers to these questions. And
one thing on that very high note, and it's a wonderful one. I want to share with our audience, we're going to do a commercial break, and we urge you to utilize the services and goods that are provided by these people that bring benefit to you because they support our show. So we're going to do a quick break. We'll be right back with Rabbi Rechman. Don't go away, because we're discussing wisdom and life and joy and happiness. Be right back after this brief message. Don't go away. Good day, everybody. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. That's BetterHelp, BetterHelp. Now, everybody knows, as watches this show, that I've been through a lot of stuff, paralyzed, years in therapy. And when I talk about therapy, I'm talking about physical and mental therapy. So I am a big believer in the benefits of therapy. And I'd like to urge everybody to consider using therapy in your life. It will make a positive, purposeful, powerful, beneficial difference for you. And if you're thinking of starting therapy, I would urge you to give BetterHelp a try. That's BetterHelp, BetterHelp. It's entirely online. It's designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. You fill out a brief questionnaire, you get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. It is really, I believe, a great opportunity if you're considering using therapy. And I urge people, use therapy. So let therapy be your map with BetterHelp. That's betterhelp.com, BetterHelp.com/joy of living. Do it today, and you'll get 10% off your first month. Visit betterhelp.com. That's BetterHelp.com/joy of living. You'll thank me. And I know you like thanking me. Go to betterhelp.com/joy of living. Do it now. Good day, beautiful, bountiful, beloved, immortal beings, and good-looking people. Remember, you're good-looking because you're always looking for and finding the good. We found good in abundance. Our cup runneth over with good. His name is Rabbi Shmuel Rechman, and we're on the cusp of finding out about why. Why are you here? And now that you know that, who are you? And what are you supposed to do? So, Rabbi Rechman, on the why, the who, and the what are we doing? That's what WW stands for. Why, who, and what? Why am I here? Who am I? And now that I know, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah, so those are basically the questions, the most powerful questions. And like a lot of people, they struggle with, like, why does that matter? Like, practically, like, why should I even care about those things? And I've coached CEOs, business leaders, entrepreneurs, people who are, changing the world, speakers, authors, impactors, influencers. There's no question that the key to success in the material world, if you want to financially succeed, you want to build an amazing marriage, you want to make an impact, you want to build a brand, you want to build a business, you have to be very, very clear on why you're doing it. Because you're going to require so much passion, so much vigor, so much energy. There's a reason why so few people do it. Most people give up. There's a powerful quote that he who has a why can overcome any how. And if you know why you're doing it, you can find the passion, the energy, the grit, the perseverance to figure out how to get it done. But so few people get back to the root. They're just living on the surface. They're just trying to make it big, trying to succeed, trying to be happy. And if you realize that you are a self, Michelangelo was once asked, like, how do you build these amazing sculptures? How do you create these magnificent pieces of art? And he says that, like, you see the finished sculpture, you think I just created a sculpture. When you look at that original marble block, you see a marble block, I see the sculpture. I just have to rub away the surface and reveal what's already inside. And the key to life is essentially realizing that you are something, that there's something within you, that you are essentially a molded consciousness that's unconscious of yourself. And knowledge, John Locke had this idea that we're a blank slate, that the way you learn is essentially just type information and data onto your mind. But the Platonic and the Torah model of wisdom is that there are objective ideas in the universe, and that when you learn, you're coming in touch with not just random data, but truth. And more importantly, the purpose of life is not to become great, but to become you. And that there's an actual...
Let's repeat that, please. You just hit upon a very wonderful high note. The purpose of life is what?
Is not to become great, but to become you. And what that means is that there's an actual you that's dormant, that's potential. And that, in the Western world, success is objective. If you want to make it to the NBA, you have to be part of the top 500 basketball players in the world. If you want to make it to the NFL, the MLB, if you want to make it into the professional leagues, you got to be the best objectively. If you want to be a doctor, it doesn't matter how growth-oriented you are. If everyone dies on your operating table, you are not going to get a job. It's not how it works. When it comes to self-worth, when it comes to self-image, when it comes to the actual nature of reality, the purpose of life is not to create objective greatness. The standard of greatness is becoming all that you're capable of becoming, which means external comparison is nonsensical. Einstein said that if you judge a fish by how it can climb a tree, you'll think it's stupid. If you judge yourself based on other people, it's like your internal framework is different, your experiences are different, your genetics are different, your internal wiring is different. It's not just practical, it's fundamental. There's a literal you. And if you realize that some people are introverted, some people are extroverted, some people are interpersonal, some people are very mathematical and number and data oriented, some people are visionaries, entrepreneurs, business builders, some people are implementers. They're ones that essentially create and express it into the world. And if you are judging yourself based on the wrong terms, or if you just don't know who you are, you're just playing the wrong game. And the goal of life is essentially to stage one, figure out what you are, who you are, and why you are. And then as you gain progress in that mission, to just allow yourself to unfold and express everything that you're capable of becoming through the journey of life. And as you go on that journey, you'll get more clarity. Now, people think that you have this aha moment where you discover your purpose. Oh, I developed self-awareness. Now I know who I am, why I am, what I'm supposed to do. I go on the next 80 years of my life on autopilot and just kind of express, write those books, change the world, have that mission. No, it's an endless journey of self-discovery, self-awareness, and self-expression. And when you're tapped into something that transcends yourself, and this is one of the deepest concepts, like everyone has a God. Your God is essentially the value system that you develop or discover or devote your life to. Now, in Judaism, we call that God. We call that Hashem. And it's the source of all existence, the source of all wisdom, the source of all ideas, the source of all values.
Sorry, what does that mean, Hashem?
So Hashem in Hebrew means the name. The name, without getting into all the complexities. A name essentially is a revealed aspect. Like, you don't have a name for yourself, you have a name for others. So my name Shmuel, I don't call myself Shmuel, I call myself I, right? It'd be weird if I walked around talking to myself as like, Shmuel, do this. I say like, you got to do that, right? I don't talk to myself by my name. My name is for you. It's a hook. It's how you can relate to me. So we cannot grasp the ungraspable, just like you cannot see me. You don't see my actual mind, myself. You see my face. You see my facial expressions. You see the actions I do. You hear the words I say. Essentially, you're dealing with the expression. So without getting into all the complexities of Torah wisdom, we refer to Hashem by the name Hashem because there's always an unattainable aspect of trying to tap into the infinite. When you're trying to tap into the root of all roots, it's an endless journey. So we don't expect to ever be there. We expect to essentially journey towards it. So the way we relate to God is not by assuming that we know God, but by relating to the expression, trying to endlessly journey deeper. Just like self-awareness is an endless journey. It's
So
literally,
good.
you will never.
Let me put you on unpack something. So again, the name of this podcast, of course, is The Joy of Living. By the way, notice that it's not the joy of living. It's the joy of living. Joy is a remarkable acronym, wonderful Shmuel, that stands for Journey of You.
Exactly.
That's what joy is.
Exactly.
It's not the aha moment and that, oh, it's all done. It's the journey of you, that opening up of the flower, that lotus blossom. So I want to ask you, being a rabbi, being a Jew, what is unique about Torah? Why should people listen to you that Torah is something special in the world?
So that is perhaps the most foundational and fantastic question. It's a question which I would never claim to say I have the answer, being that it's a lifelong journey on my end of deepening my perception. But I have entered into just about every industry that I can get my hands on. You know, the spiritual industry, the academic industry, the business industry, the music industry, the impact industry, professionals, business, entrepreneur, all forms of wisdom. And the question is like, what makes wisdom great? What makes a system of wisdom great? And anyone who pursues any field is like, if you look at the world of physics, what makes physics so difficult is that they had Newtonian physics, and then they discovered the quantum realm. And quantum physics contradicted every normative principle in physics. So they had to completely reconfigure and say, maybe quantum physics is the real grand underlying theory, what they call guts, the grand unifying theory of life. And then they spent a long time trying to essentially deal with, general relativity and quantum mechanics. And they thought string theory was maybe the theory that encompassed all of it. And then the constant struggle is like, can we figure out a system that encompasses everything, that essentially answers every question, every expressed phenomena can be placed within the hierarchical structure of the system that we've created. And if you get problems, the system breaks down. So every hypothesis is like, maybe this will work. But then we do tests and it doesn't work. So we have to improve the system because the system is broken. It essentially does not, it does not explain the world fully. There are things that don't work. So we have to improve the system. Now, in theory, when you have a spiritual system, you want to understand, what does that mean? What is spirituality? What is philosophy? What is psychology? What is physics? What is business? What are relationships? And that's where a lot of people kind of live within their own world. So there are people who spend their whole life in the wisdom of business. There are people who spend their whole life in the wisdom of philosophy. There are people who spend their whole life in the wisdom of psychology. There are people who spend their whole life in the wisdom of mathematics. There are people who spend their whole life, you can go on and on and on, right? There's subcategories and subcategories in different fields, and everyone lives within their own universe of wisdom. And then there are some people who bridge worlds, right? They are people who are philosophers, but also business gurus. People who are academics, but have also built brands and are impacting the world. People who are rabbis, spiritual, but they're also athletes, engaging the physical, right? And like, where does marriage fit into this? Where does anything fit into this? So one of the classic questions of living what you'd call a life of the mind, a life of the spirit. And by the way, spirituality is the most ethereal, unexplained principle. Like, what do you mean by spirituality? Like, how would we define spirituality? So if you define spirituality as the realm of the consciousness, the realm of the mind, the realm of the spirit. So the question is, how does the world of the spiritual, of the infinite, the transcendent, the ethereal, the theoretical, the realm of ideas, of purpose, of conceptual infinite potential, how does that relate to a world of finite physical reality, a world of essentially the corporeal, the limited, the finite. We're all in a physical world. We're going to die.
Well, this is very good. Let's put a pause to unpack a few things here. Part of what you're saying is, if in fact the world called spirituality is living in the infinite, if it's possible to say that, and the world of the, let's call it business, for the want of a better term, is the world of the finite, how does the finite and the infinite come together and live in harmony? And I think what part of what you're discussing here is that truth, ultimate truth, is in fact that. It harmonizes the ability for a rabbi to play baseball. Or
In
go
theory,
out and,
in theory, you get what you want to deepen it, because again, let's use the white light analogy, because it's a brilliant analogy. The white light is essentially in the hierarchy of light. It's the source of the colors. The colors stem from the white light. So you wouldn't say that the colors are not white light. But you also wouldn't say it is white light. You'd say it's an aspect of white light. You'd say it's an expression. So what's more important when it comes to understanding the hierarchy of light? The white light's more important. So what's more important when it comes to the spiritual and the physical? The spiritual. As in, there's a very deep idea that the physical world is not a creation, but an expression, which means that the physical world is not just a random place where we're able to live a life of meaning and purpose, but it's actually a place of meaning and purpose. It's a place that literally is an expression of ideas. The whole world is data, right? If you break down anything in the physical world, it's data, it's information, it's ideas, it's a conversation. And the moment that you view the physical as an expression of the spiritual, the finite as an expression of the infinite, what happens is that the physical world, your body, becomes infinitely meaningful. Bringing value to the world, engaging in business, engaging in entrepreneurship, being a professional, bringing value to other people's lives, helping people. It's not just for spiritual credit, as in you're cashing some spiritual bank account. It's that the entire world, it's like, think of it like this. A tree came from a seed, right? Each of us came from a zygote. The expressed colors came from that white light. If the physical world is not a creation but an expression, that means that we are essentially playing within a spiritual realm, a finite spiritual realm, and that everything in life becomes infinitely meaningful. Everything in life is infinitely meaningful, but there's still a hierarchy. And that means that the realm of ideas is more important, substantive, potent, and essentially root form than the expression of those ideas.
good. So that being the case, I ask you again, what makes Torah unique?
So what makes Torah unique is two aspects of this paradigm. Number one is that it is a spiritual system that fundamentally embraces, uplifts, and idealizes living a spiritual life in this world. As in, the whole purpose of spiritual life is not to transcend the physical, but to essentially transcend within it. So marriage is not just permissible, but an ideal. Wine is not just permissible, but what's called, a mitzvah, a commandment. It's something which is transcendently imminent, as opposed to something which needs to be avoided because it's very physical. So the physical becomes not something that is lowly, that is disgusting, that's to be avoided, that's dangerous. It's something which is 100% dangerous, 100% corruptible, 100% able to essentially pull you away from truth, from living life and meaning and purpose and clarity, and all the things that you want. But it's also a small t truth. It's also a color that's expressed from the white light. And it's actually a very important part of the puzzle of life. And
So,
the
how does Torah,
exactly.
how does Torah enable you to see in this process called, let's say, marriage, which is the physical union of man and woman, that becomes a transcendent process and not a lowly animal process?
Exactly. So almost all of the mitzvahs, almost all of the commandments, almost all of the aspects of living a Torah life, you would think that living a spiritual life is living a life of the mind, living a life of ideas, living a life of the philosophical, the conceptual, the ethereal. You can literally count on your hand the number of spiritual commandments that are spiritual in the Torah, right? Believe in God, don't serve idolatry, don't be jealous. Almost every single aspect of living a Torah life, of living a Jewish life, is physical, right? You shake a lulav, you eat matzah, leavened bread, you wear tefillin, right? The things that we wear on our heads, men wear on their heads when they pray. You engage the physical, not only to express the infinite into the finite, but to connect from the finite to the infinite. It's like if you look at, I'll give you a great example. If you look at someone who's essentially doing a puppet show, when he's controlling the puppets from his strings above, so you don't see the person who's controlling it, you just see the puppets. So how does that work? What works is basically you're viewing the puppets, but the entire control system is coming from above. So there's a system that you can't see that's controlling everything below. But what if you had a system where that's not only true, but the puppets below can tap into that which is above by pulling those strings back, right? When you play a piano, the music doesn't come when you hit the note. There's a chain reaction. So what ends up happening is that you press a note and it causes a chain reaction. The music comes from somewhere else. It's the same thing for everything. The cause and effect. When you turn your car on, turning the key doesn't actually turn the engine on, causes a ripple effect. So this is literally the most fundamental paradigm of living a spiritual life is your thoughts affect your emotions, which affect your actions. Your actions affect your emotions, which affect your thoughts. Living a spiritual life is essentially controlling and engaging the physical reality to create an inner spiritual result. And from a metaphysical perspective, there's an idea that the actions you do in this world have a metaphysical effect. That it's not just...
We're going to put you on pause here because I'm going to ask you a question that you're going to answer on the other side of this break. Can one live this spiritual ideal life without the Torah? So we'll be right back after this brief break. Don't go away. There's more Shmuel Rechman on the other side of this brief break. You're going to love our products. You're going to love our sponsors, but you love Shmuel even more. So we'll be right back after this. Good day, everybody. Oh, something special for you. Amazing. Sometimes a great notion comes into the world and causes a shift that benefits everyone. Isn't that wonderful? Everyone benefits. This time it's called Einstein Cares. That's right, like Albert Einstein. EinsteinCares.com. EINSTEINCARES. EinsteinCares.com. Go there and sign up to be aware of when the site launches. Because guess what this site is all about? Its mission is to give $1 billion to charity without costing any giver a penny. Okay, I'm going to say it again. The mission is to give $1 billion to charity without costing any giver a penny. And it's based upon something everybody loves to do. Shop, have fun, give money at no cost. Go to EinsteinCares.com. That's EinsteinCares.com and register now so that when the site launches, you will be amongst the first to know about it. So you can shop, earn money, and give money at no cost. What a wonderful world to even be thinking about these things. EinsteinCares.com. Do it today. You'll thank me, and you know you love thanking me. Best wishes. Bye now. Good day. Beautiful, bountiful, beloved, immortal beings, and good-looking people. Remember, you're good-looking, you're always looking for and finding the good. We found good in abundance. His name is Rabbi Shmuel Rechman, and we have him on the edge of our seats because we're asking him a question. Can you be a spiritual being like he's been describing all these wonderful things without the Torah? Rabbi Rechman.
That's an amazing question. It's the $1 million question. Now, there is a concept in the Torah called the Sheva Mitzvos B'nei Noach, the 7 Noahide Commandments. And essentially, I mean, this is one of the most powerful principles that anyone can ever really delve into is the concept of hierarchies. Because what ends up happening is a lot of people, they say yes or no. It's yes or no, black or white, good or bad. It's a life of essentially creating dichotomies which are simple, that do not encompass and explain everything, but it's essentially easy to digest, easy to market, easy to sell, easy to buy. To say it's either yes or no is essentially to get around the fact that there's not a gray area, but there are levels. It's not yes or no. It's like, it's the white light analogy. White light is not light, whereas the colors are not light. It's that white light is essentially more fundamental in the hierarchy of light. So truth is also not simple. If I were to ask you, what is truth? It's a very hard thing to define, right? Let's say someone comes and he tells his father, Dan kicked me in the face. So first of all, it's a good high kick, right? Dan reached the face. But he goes over to Dan and says, why did you kick my son in the face? He says, that's because, what do you mean, Mark? He punched me. Why'd you punch him? It's because he threw me down the stairs. Why did you throw him down the stairs? He called me a name. It's like, who's telling the truth? Are they lying? Are they telling the truth? The answer is like, of course they're telling the truth. They're only telling a part of the truth. Like, they don't have the whole truth. They're just filling in a piece of the puzzle. So can someone live a life of truth without the Torah? It depends on what you mean by truth. It depends on what you mean without the Torah. It depends on what you mean by Torah.
Wait a minute. Those sound all like very interesting rabbinic ways of not answering the question.
I'm going to answer the question. I mean, listen, any real thinker will answer any fundamental question by pulling apart every single word in the question, opening up every word, and essentially needing to define the words. It's like a classic question: do you believe in God? What do you mean by you? What do you mean by believe? What do you mean by God? So, to quote Jordan Peterson, the question is, what does it mean to live a life of truth? So, if in theory, a life of Torah is living a life of absolute ideal truth, again, to live a life of Torah there's an infinite spectrum within that. There's many different types of living a Torah life. There's many different types of Jews, many different sects. You open up any religion, you get 25,000 different religions. So the simplicity of the question needs to be sophisticated and complexified to then create the structure within which to analyze and answer it. But without doing that, we can essentially just try to answer the question of, can someone live a life of truth? And without getting to the hierarchies of truth, if a life of truth is actualizing your potential, living a life of meaning and purpose, and devoting your life to becoming everything that you're capable of becoming, and helping others do the same, and finding how you can add value to the world and really heighten every aspect of your life in terms of your self-awareness, your intellectual growth, your emotional well-being, your physical health, your leadership skills, building amazing relationships, building an amazing family, having an impact on the world, making a great living, and building that abundance mindset where you can literally you can become anything, but your goal is not to become anything. It's to become you. And yes, anyone can do that. But how? You need the roadmap, you need the wisdom, you need the guidance. So there are literally infinite spiritual systems that can give you aspects of guidance that can help you with the roadmap of how to do that. On the hierarchy of those roadmaps, Torah, again, from my perspective, is the highest on the hierarchy. Every system has aspects of truth and brilliance, and every system will help you. It's like, for example, let's say you want to build a business. So you're not going to go to someone who has no knowledge of business to build a business. You're going to go to someone who's done it. You're going to go to business school. You're going to find people who have built what you want to build in certain ways and model success to then create it yourself. So there are so many ways to gain aspects of knowledge, aspects of wisdom, guidance, role models, mentors, educators, leaders, influencers, the brilliant people in the world. They have something to it. What makes Torah unique is its interconnected oneness, essentially counting for all aspects of everything, integrating them all together, the ultimate hierarchical system of truth, and accounting for all aspects of life. If you find a lot of people who are focused on, just to make it easy, we'll talk about business success. A lot of them sacrifice their marriage for business success. A lot of them sacrifice their health for business success. A lot of them sacrifice their self-awareness and their internal growth for business success. Now, those people do that because they think in order to succeed, I need to give those things up. And they want success so bad that they're willing to do that. And sometimes they don't really make the decision, it just happens. Now, that's not something that they're showing you or they would teach you because they know there's something wrong with it. Like it's not something it's not an ideal that's worth striving for. It's not a virtue worth replicating. It's not something that you'd want. It's something that essentially, if you talk to them in private, you'd basically say, listen, this is where I had to give up. And if you're willing to give that up too, you can succeed. But that's depressing. It's depressing to have to choose one value over another, one truth over another, one aspect of life over another. You'd want a system of life that's balanced, where you are able to fully pursue that which you believe is worth pursuing without giving up that which you think is important. And I have found so many people that just don't believe that's true, don't believe it's possible. It's just like, and that's not to say that you don't need to sacrifice. Like, hard work is different than giving up truth and value. You don't want to sacrifice your values, your self-worth, your identity, or what you believe in, but you're going to have to sacrifice time, energy, money. You're going to have to sacrifice a lot of the things that are fleeting and a lot of things that you should sacrifice but don't want to sacrifice. That's different than talking about in the realm of ideas and values, things that you shouldn't sacrifice that you think you have to sacrifice, right? Meaning, if you want to get in good shape, you got to sacrifice the junk food. It's just, it's part of the game.
Wait. That's a very good point. If one chooses to say, I wish to be in physical shape and, let's say, shed 22 unwanted pounds, well, maybe, just maybe, eating 2 donuts a day will not be the best route today.
2 donuts a day.
I'll sacrifice one. But let's go to something deep because our time is coming so short and it's been so wonderful. We're talking with Rabbi Shmuel Rechman. Rabbi Rechman is talking about the Torah. Torah is the essence of light. Now, let's be blunt. The Torah is the gift that God gave to the Jewish people. And God gave this gift to the Jewish people some 3,500 years ago. Let's say that out in numbers. 3,500 plus minus years ago. Jews have been in the world all that time. Almost every other group of people who espoused systems of truth or wisdom have gone by the wayside. Not all, but almost everyone. The longevity of the Jew is one of the most remarkable, powerful expositors of truth in the world. If you want to do something beneficial for yourself, and I'm talking to hundreds of thousands of people throughout the world who are not in any way Jewish, have never even thought about being Jewish, they're not Jewish, become a philo-Semite. Now that's distinguished from an anti-Semite. Don't do that because you'll hurt yourself, because God loves the Jewish people. Become a philo-Semite. Learn about what Judaism offers to the world, what Judaism teaches, what Torah is about. One of the reasons I asked Rabbi Shmuel Rechman to join us today, and he's so articulate, is because you will find in the map, the roadmap of Torah, that it will help you address these questions of why are you here? Who are you? And now that you know that, what are you supposed to do? How do you live a life of truth? So we only have a few more minutes today, wonderful Rabbi Rechman, and I'm going to ask you 3 questions, and then we'll have to put together this particular session. So you ready for 3 questions?
Let's do it.
Okay. First question. Will you come back again?
I would love to.
Okay. Thank you. Next question. And you only have 80 seconds to answer this. What is your most fervent desire?
That's a good question. My most fervent desire, my deepest desire, is to become all that I am capable of becoming and help everyone else in the world do the same. And it's literally that there's 2 ways of thinking about fear. Fear stands for false evidence appearing real, or face everything and rise. But fear is always seen as something to overcome, right? You want to fear. A lot of people, they don't pursue their greatness because they're scared of failing. They're scared of what other people will think. They're scared they're not good enough. What if I do it and it's not as good as I thought it would be? It's not worth it. I'll have to give up all these things, the pain. But like, what about the fear of not actualizing your potential, of not becoming everything that you're capable of becoming, of not taking full advantage of the opportunity and responsibility that we've been given in this world? So I think of the greatest way to structure your life is to have a magnetic pull towards something amazing and to be really scared of something behind you to propel you forward. Where if you have this amazing attraction to your future, an amazing desire to get away from something that you're genuinely scared of, you don't want to get rid of fear, you want to use it. It's like fear is not something to discard, it's something to utilize. Behind every fear is your next level, but also utilizing the fear of not becoming everything you're capable of becoming is perhaps the greatest way to become as close to that Michelangelo sculpture, hiding beneath your surface. So that is my deepest desire.
Thank you. And now number 3, may I give you a hug in front of 368,293 people around the world?
I would love one.
Okay, but let me tell you what HUG stands for. HUG stands for heartfelt, unlimited giving. Heartfelt, unlimited giving on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3. The Joy of Living podcast with your humble host, Barry Shore, and our amazing, wonderful, fabulous Rabbi Shmuel Rechman today, bringing you the 3 fundamentals of life, which are, number 1, life. Your life has purpose, as you've been hearing from Rabbi Rechman. And number 2, you lead a purpose-driven life. You go mad. MAD stands for make a difference. And the 3rd fundamental is to uncover the power and the sequence of everyday words and terms so you can learn to be happier, healthier, and wealthier. Simple example, www. What a wonderful world. Smile. Seeing miracles in life every day. Or as my 8-year-old niece says, seeing miracles in everyday life. Create the kind of world you want to live in. As Shmuel's been telling us, you can create the kind of world you want to live in, causing rethinking, enabling all to excel. Learn about the Torah, Torah. And when you do, you will have a shift in your perspective. You got to keep that F in place so the other stuff happens. You'll shift your perspective. Remember, choice, not chance. Choice, not chance, determines your destiny. Use 4-letter words all the time. But remember, from the positive, purposeful, powerful, pleasant aspect, use 4-letter words: love, life, hope, free, gift, pray, play, swim. And tell the world to F you, capital N, capital N. So after the show, see your family and friends, you see them to point your fingers, say, F you, everybody. Remember to add capital N, capital N. Right? Did you get that? I said, I listen to Barry Shore on the Joy of Living podcast. He wants to teach the world to F you, capital N, capital N. And we'll open up a whole idea of what did you talk about? Well, he had on Rabbi Rechman, he was talking about spirituality and living life to the full, and Torah and light and colors and joy and happiness and peace and love. And therefore, remember, use the 2 most powerful words in the English language every day from now forward, 3 times a day, consciously and conscientiously. You may say thank you many times, 3 times a day, consciously and conscientiously. Thanks stands for to harmonize and nurture kindness. To harmonize and nurture kindness. Everyone you meet is fighting a battle you know nothing about. Therefore, be kind always. Kind stands for keep inspiring noble deeds, just like Rabbi Rechman has done for us today. So on that note, a blessing from Rabbi Rechman and Barry Shore. Go forth, live exuberantly, spread the seeds of joy, happiness, peace, and love. Go mad. Go make a difference. Shmuel, don't go away.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Joy of Living podcast. Now that's another step towards your healthier, happier, and wealthier life. Never hesitate to do good in the world, no matter what the situation. Join us for another upbeat discussion next time at barryshore.com. And be sure to leave a rating and subscribe to the show to get more conversations like this. And remember to share it with your family and friends too. See you on the next episode.